everyone.
Yeah, Trisha, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thanks, Shatish. I'll prefer to take a Q&A at the end. So I'll just go ahead and start. So let me start with what is the topic about today? Uh, Welcome everyone. Today I'm going to talk about journey from setbacks to happy team. I'm Trisha Chetani. I worked as a software tester for past 9 years. During my 9 years of experience, I worked on front end, back end, as well as mobile testing. During my journey of 9 years of experience, I've got certain recognitions and I've developed myself being more passionate and I love networking and I love going to meetups and conferences. So pitch me up anywhere you find me, and you can actually tweet me or tweet about this talk on the social media so that it helps me to boost my confidence. So today I'm going to talk about test process improvement as a collaborative process. Some of the process would be in general, anybody could apply, and some are like more specific to the testing, software testing. And how did we turn our team to become more inspired and to do more? Imagine being in a situation wherein any unimportant task in the team suddenly becomes important. It could be like you have actually been planning during sprint planning, then you have gone through sprint refinement, and then you are actually doing something in actual sprint. But then you suddenly some team member comes and say this task, whatever you have planned, has become unimportant, and some unimportant task became urgent. It could be some technical depth, it could be some other team who are being affected, or it could be some team members who are moving on. I hope you have been in this situation and you would feel what is a frustration because now you have a challenge to finish that planned work which you have already planned for the sprint, and as well as you need to do and put the effort to complete all the unplanned work. How about being in a situation wherein you have too much to do in the sprint? Me being a software tester, I need to do a functional testing, user story testing, regression testing, end-to-end testing, integration testing, sanity testing, smoke testing, whatnot. And it could be because of incorrect estimation, lack of analysis, unstable builds, or any technical problem or lack of agreement between all the parties involved. And then your manager comes and say, why didn't you do that particular test? It would be annoying for me. I hope it would be annoying for you also if you have something similar in your context. How about being in a situation wherein there are too many tasks, but the perception of testing, software testing, is very easy. Like it's been taken as granted, and everybody thinks like we can do a software testing, and we don't need too many software testers. One software tester would be enough for like the team, and they call it as agile software tester. When we talk about bugs which goes into the production, and it gives me the sense saying that all the tester cannot find the bugs, and I totally understand having the bugs in the production, which is like it's defaming the company name, company reputation. But I feel the developers and other stakeholders in the team is also equally responsible, and this happens because of there is no clear goal, and people think one tester can do everything, which is not correct. How about being in a situation wherein you have too much to do, but you don't know how to do it? Let's say, give an example, being a software tester, people are expecting to work on the ticket which is like extracting some data from the database, and your manager says like uh, we need to retest that one particular bug which was found in production. And since you don't have access to the system, you are not able to do it. And you also communicated at that particular moment of time, but your message didn't got attention. But later you end up saying that that particular bug fix is not really retested. Because of that, we cannot do a release. And the whole software release process isn't stuck. And because of that, whatever you tested already in this sprint is also stuck. And this happened because there was no common alignment, there was no common goal, there was no clear communication about the process, there was no communication, no collaboration. And once you get the feedback, like now, then you start working actively and you start reworking on the whole process. But what you could do to fix all these issues earlier? I'm going to share my experience on how our team became motivated and be in harmony. And I hope you can also apply for yourself. In upcoming slides, I'm going to explain if you're a new team member, you can become more aware about team values, which will make you to become happiest person in the team doing the job. And a job satisfaction is most important. I hope you all agree with this. Show me your hands. Show me, like, if you agree, you can press a thumbs. Thank you. So, first thing which comes into my mind is about vision, or the ability to think about what you're planning to do in that particular quarter, what you're planning to do in that particular sprint, or what you're planning to do in that particular year. And it could be a very small thing wherein you can say, okay, we want to take it as a whole team responsibility, or we want to focus ourselves being more agile and having an agile mindset, or we want to test very small features, or we don't want to have a lot of bugs, we want to have zero bugs. So it depends on what you want, and then from there you can actually start like working towards that and set a vision for team, and then start gathering the action plan for that, and then slowly what is the process around it. If you don't have anything, then you can ask your manager what is their goal. They can share you something. And once you have got through it, then you can start thinking about what are the core values. Like, what is that your manager wanted to achieve? You can set up that. If that is not there, then you can think about what is your company's mission or vision, or what is their core value. Then you can think deeply, clarify the purpose with your manager, and define something as a vision for the team. If you don't have this, whatever you're working on would be waste, because there would be, you cannot share what is the impact you're bringing in your team, being yourself in the team. Then I could recommend understanding the current status of the team if you're a new team member. What is there? What is not there? What people are doing every day? You could ask questions like, if there is something not there, there would be a specific reason. Let's say people are following not agile waterfall. There could be specific reason why people are following waterfall, why it's bringing a value for them. You could actually check with people. If you're not able to do that, you can set up one-on-one and understand what people challenges are there. What do they like to do most? What did they achieve last month or they are proud of? What did they wanted to do in the team and how you can help them? Because when you help people around you, you build a good solid relationship, which is very important. Also, you can understand what is the roles and responsibility of the team members so that you can understand what to expect from each people. I think it's very important to understand what is the current status. Then later you can understand the release process. It's very important because you would understand the each phase what is happening. There could be a checklist you can go through. If there is a no checklist, you can understand, ask question whether the release process is manual or automated. If it is automated, which part it is, like what kind of tool they are using, what kind of language they are using, how long each job take for going through each phase in the release process, what are the test job running, and after which developers jobs run. Either it's on commit, it's on merge of the commit. If the build fail, who is accountable for that? If there is no configuration updated, who is accountable for that and which environment? If there is a certain hotfix on Friday, who is responsible to coordinate that? If all of this you're not able to get the answer, then take a ownership and say, I would like to help in one particular release process and ask to pair up and go through that release process so that you can understand whom to collaborate, whom to ask the question, and who's the important people in your team. It's very important. The last thing I could recommend is understanding the responsibility. Responsibility is very essential to do the duty because it helps us to complete the task. And responsibility and accountability are two different things. It's like it should be someone who is choosing to do a particular task focused as accountability, wherein responsibility is like the result focused. So we need to understand who's accountable to do that task, who is actually responsible for getting that task done. Like when you are talking about responsibility, it could be a new role which is created in the team, or it could be multiple people are performing at the same role, but in the different areas of organization, or a number of roles which are closely interacting with each other. But when you talk about accountability, you can think about the questions like what I need to expect from somebody in my team, what I expect from them, what they expect from me, what are your challenges to do your task, what are your responsibility, what works need, or like where, or what are the skills needs for each role, or how do we assign the role, or it's like establishing the trust and positioning your advancement in the team for the promotion. So it's very important or crucial to know who's responsible and who's accountable from various aspects. Once you started learning about like all this, you can be well integrated within the team and you can contribute more. Since you're able to contribute more and bring more value and bring more impact, you would be eventually becoming more happy, having more job satisfaction, and feel like it's the best team or to work with. It's not only others people who can actually help you to bring that feeling, but you need to also put that effort too from your side to bring that feeling, okay, this is the best job I have. Now I could explain about how to deal with the managers and setting that expectation. Given in any context, all the test can we cannot test everything. And it could be similar for other job roles also. So respecting the deadlines and defining that expectation with your manager, saying that we cannot do everything, but you could decide which is important and put your task in calendar and set the boundaries, account for distraction or getting help from each other team member, or prioritize which task need to be done, what is your personal deadlines, and what is the consequences if that task is not done. Understanding all those from your manager and then respecting that deadlines and putting your best effort will help you to get the in the context of like what is extensive testing for your team. Then I could recommend as like after you have prioritized, then you can hire for the same experience. It could be using same tools, same language, fitting into the same team, or the person who is having self confidence, We can think about extracurricular activities because somewhere I read a person who is actually writing extracurricular activities in their resume, and if that is right, mean they are actually whatever is there in resume is mostly correct, because a lot of people write about they like photo, they like taking a photo, or they like swimming, but when you actually talk to that person, there is nothing about that, and or there's no skills, so how can you actually believe whatever they have written in their resume is correct? About their communication, their collaboration, their personality compatibility. So, like, we need to understand that. And also, I also came across like the tools which is actually coming in the market, wherein there's a predictive index test wherein it helps you to understand your own behavior, and it helps your manager to understand your behavior, and they can align and give the task accordingly. So I feel that is also very important to take in the interview. This, if we are doing this, we become more aligned and understand from each other, being a manager or being a worker in the team or team member, seeing that how we can have a common alignment and how we can work with each other. So far, I've explained you this. There is a lot to go. So let's go. Next, how did I approach further? So I started having whole team in the same pace, so that if there is a whole team in the same pace, we can become more collaborative. It helps to become improve the aspiration between the team and the positiveness in the team. We started having a shared understanding about quality. What does quality mean for a CTO? Or it could be what does a quality mean for a salesperson, or it could be marketing person. And it became a very good process. When I was onboarding, my manager asked me to take that perspective when you're talking to people, so that it helps to understand. And since you're new, people would be easily helping you to understand what is their perspective. And I got those feedbacks from different people when I was onboarding and talking to them. And then we as a team organized a workshop saying that this is what our understanding is and how we can become uh, in the common terms. And that helps to like helped us to set a common understanding across company. Then we started doing a risk analysis. Risk analysis is something which is like a likelihood of adverse event which will occur in the team. When you are planning, you would see like, okay, I cannot do the sprint. We cannot have the more efforts in the sprint because there is a dependency on other team. So that is an adverse event for your team because you are not able to commit on your sprint, and you see that. So those are risks for your team, and there are multiple phases of doing a risk analysis. One is risk identification, then there is a risk analysis, then how do you prioritize if you have multiple risks in your team, and then develop a plan, implement a plan, monitor a plan, and it should be continuous process for each sprint. And how you can measure it, you can check what is the likelihood and how much it will impact and how extensively it will be how extensive it would be impacting all the team members. So these are the things you could talk about when you're thinking about risk analysis. And there is a very good talk by Nishi Grover on Ministry of Testing platform on each user story, how she have done the risk analysis. Then I could recommend us like each test technique is having its own context. When you talk about user story testing is only to test that particular user story. You cannot find all the regression bugs from that, or you cannot find the mobile issues or accessibility issues. So each testing technique is having its own access, and that's why it's very important to like focus on each testing and When you're doing, let's say, user story testing, you would only find the issues which were related to that particular user story in that isolated environment. And it helps to build the customer satisfaction or product owner satisfaction in the sprint, but you cannot achieve everything. So when you actually focus on regression testing, you would find for that release whatever the bugs were there is being reduced. And similarly, if you are actually running the automated testing, mean as soon as you're merging the new software, you would find the bugs earlier. If you are doing a performance testing, which means when you are actually doing a performance testing, you're finding does it take too much for the users to do a page load, or does it take like when too many people from too many regions are coming into your website, how does it work? Security testing, are there vulnerabilities in your application? Usability testing, how usable is your software? Then accessibility, is it helping somebody who is having some disability? Mobile testing, are you able to work on different form factors? So let's say from the iPad to the mobile phone to the smartphone to the feature phone, any form factors you can take over there. And it all takes a different technique and different skill sets to do that. And that's why I conveyed earlier, one person cannot do everything. Once you do this, you started going deeper and uncovering what are the hidden things in your team. Once you started doing that, you become more happy because you started learning more and you started bringing more value to your team. Now, I would like to explain some of the process wherein we set up so that we have spread that work, whatever we are doing, across the department. It helps us to grow from the perspective of becoming more trustable, more reliable, more approachable in the company. When we are onboarding different people in the team, we started explaining them the summary of what we are doing, or having some checklist saying that we are doing this, 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 or having some audios, some videos, some walkthroughs, or some mind maps, which is a brainstorming sessions which we did. We started explaining them this is how we are doing for our team. And we also started getting some feedback as a new user to our product. How do you feel about it? What is your first impression? Once we got that feedback, we can pass it to the relevant team, and it helps us to bring our product in a much better shape. Then we started having spreading the product knowledge. It could be from the platform perspective, data wise perspective. What is our future? What is our vision? What is the functionality we have? What are the foundations of our product? As who all are our users? How many active users are there? How many inactive users? Things like that. Then we started approaching whole company approach, like collaboration across different teams. Let's say when we talk about sales and marketing team, we started understanding the purpose better. What makes our product as success? What makes our product as failure? We started having engagement with the actual users. And then we started understanding, going through our social media, understanding what is the belief of our product, what is the opinion for our product. And then we started driving that, like seeing what is the engagement of the users. When we talked about the engagement of the user, we started using data analytics or having one source of information. It was very low tech board because if it is a very complicated tech board, it would be not valuable for across whole company. And that's why we started opting for a very low technical tech board wherein it could be used for monitoring across the company. We started having a techniques wherein, like, which was a bug bash, dog fooding. Bug bash is a technique wherein the whole company comes before releasing the software and test the software, give their opinion so that it helps to find the bugs earlier in the stage. The dog fooding is something which the whole company use their own software. before asking the external users to use. Then we started articulating back to the management what was a potential revenue we got after doing all this. It could be from the saving, what are the risks we mitigated in each sprint. It could be like we have reduced from the infrastructure cost. We started thinking about, let's say, what is a growth metrics for our company? How many users we have? Did we purchase some infrastructure which helped us to reduce hiring? That infrastructure helped us to it was more system oriented than people oriented. Then we started focusing on what value we are bringing to our customer. It could be onboarding engagement, it could be day-to-day engagement, or when they are trying to retain our platform, how we can build that trust and gain them back. We also started thinking about team productivity, like us conveying that how much we reduced on the context switch, how much we reduced on the rework, how much we started having no additional sprint. Since we started doing this, we started becoming more trustable, more reliable, and the team became in harmony. Till now, I've explained using a test improvement of this step. Only the last step was remaining, which is about monitoring. Monitoring and reassess what team is doing and where your team is a very good thing, because this way the whole company can give you the feedback and it brings the feeling of their idea was incorporated. And first you can start understanding deeper about what was a problem. Maybe you can use 5 why techniques, and then you can come to understanding of what was a primary cause of this problem. Then you can start collecting the ideas across different departments. Then you can have one owner to who is accountable and who is responsible for this, and redesign the process. When you are redesigning, you can think what are the accessing change, what are the authorizing change, who is requesting that change, who will review those change. Then you can implement it. When you are implementing, do a small POC. Then you communicate the process to different teams, and especially the team who is being impacted. Then you can monitor the KPI, collect the feedback. This helps in quality, time, productivity, cost improvement. I've explained the numerous ways we did as a collaboration work within the team. In turn, our team became inspired and we became in more harmony as our team. I would like to give you an action challenge. What are the 2 things you can do for your team to become more communicative, more collaborative, and advocate more? I would like to thank Sam Kalani for this, helping me to shape up this presentation and giving a constant feedback.
Hey, thanks, Trisha, for sharing this valuable information. So let's start. Can we start Q&A, Trisha?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the session is open for Q&A. Please go ahead.
I'll ask a single question.
Please go ahead.
Hi, Trisha. Thanks for your time and the information. I just have a practical question to you. As the developers start working on their code and they would give it to QA probably only on the 6th day or the 7th day of the sprint, at times at the end of the sprint also. How would the testing person should wait till the 7th day before 6 days, or what he should do? I know there would be some test cases to be written, automatic test cases to be written in Karate framework or in any other framework they do. How best a QA person can utilize his time in his sprint?
I would say this is a struggling thing, but let's say you don't have only one developer, you have multiple developers. There would be not only one developer who's developing and releasing it to your 7th or 8th day. You could ask for smaller user story. First thing you can do, The second thing is there are multiple developers and they would be giving you some changes which would be at different time. No, not all developers will give at the same time or finish at the same point of time. And the third thing is like, if this is a evident process, then you can actually think of how to do the process improvement, saying that like the developers are actually working on this sprint, then QA works on the next sprint, and that's how we go for the release. Because you need to define for yourself, saying that what is more important for you. Is the tested code is more important for you, or is it releasing the code which is not tested is more important for you? So you need to think from that perspective and like bring the attention to your team.
Okay, follow-up question on the same. There would not there. I understand that there are many developers. Imagine that there is a sprint where there are everything is new developers are coming in, everything they're starting from fresh, right from code line 1 2 3, all those things, and the tester is no everybody is new to the system. Then how would a tester's time is utilized in the sprint where he don't want to wait for initial days?
I would say when it is like very initial day, none of the developer will go and start coding. It would be people or the whole team would be thinking about what would be the process. The people would be thinking about what would be the requirement, and they would be thinking about what is a whole like what do I say, which is coming to our what kind of product, and they would be having a lot of clarification because they are completely new to the team. They are
Sorry to cut you there. I mean when I say it's everything from fresh, they know the stories they want to work on, and they're working on the code from day one. It's like everything is formed, everything is set. Users are ready on the product backlog, and it's been taken to the sprint backlog. Now the people are doing it on the day one, Monday morning. Now I'm asking what testers should do.
on the day one, the tester can actually like think about what was like which environment they need to test. Is the environment ready? What were the test data they are going to use? What are the different test ideas they have? Are they writing they are having a test case? They have a plan which is manual, which is regression. Do they have any requirement clarifications? Do they have any design clarifications? They need to think about various perspectives. What would be the process, where they are going to write it, where they are going to document it, how they are going to share the reports after each sprint. There are many things they can actually, like, if you think of, they can think on the Monday morning, or they can think of some operational excellence task, let's say setting up some monitor for the like wherein they are actually like or something like some process improvement, something like that. Anything they can do. There will be always task for a people to do in that team, even though they are doing on the first day, I would say.
Okay, thanks.
So Ravi, let me try to answer in my own way. Say for example, to your question, like, everything, we have people who are working on the testing right from day one, right? And developer has already released the code, right?
No. Let me rephrase my question. Everything is set, everything has been discussed, infrastructure is there, everything is there. The user stories are already in the sprint backlog. Now on the Monday morning, 9 o'clock, there are 5 developers and 2 testers. Now the developers are writing the code, and the developers and the testers, they don't have much work. I want to know how best the testing team can be utilized for the initial 3 days when there is nothing for them to test. Yeah.
That's where I
See,
mentioned about test data, test analysis, test environment, things like that. But Satish, if you have any idea, sorry to interrupt, you can go.
yeah. This is Sharath here. Today Satish is not available. He was traveling actually. That's why I took his account. So Ravi, during the initial stages, right, until we get the developed code, at least for the first 1 or 2 sprints, instead of keeping the team idle, what we can usually do, we can involve them in the right from the requirement stage itself, right? So that they will be well aware of what needs to be developed as part of those features, and they will start building those test cases, right? Maybe it's a manual or automated test cases. The moment when we have the environments ready and the code is there in the dev environment, so probably we can start, we can start giving, that code to the testers so that they can start doing testing from their side, right? And also one more thing is how you define your definition of done, right? When the code, within the sprint, is development completion is your DOD, or development completion plus QA testing completion is your definition of done, or development completion plus QA testing plus P1 P2 bugs, fixing the P1 P2 bugs. What is your definition of done, right? Basis that you need to ensure your testing team is prepared accordingly, and they'll go ahead and test, right? So that proper bugs will be out, right? And team will have some time, or if they have sufficient time to fix those bugs within the sprint, they will do that. Otherwise, bugs will be spill out. Again, we need to review our definition of done from time to time and move ahead. So that is how I believe we can use tester support diligently. This is my 2 cents. I want all others also to share their thoughts.
Thank you.
If you allow me, Uday this side, thank you, Trisha and Sarath for the input. I think I see it in a different way, little bit different way. I'm not worried about those 3 days only. I'm worried about their productivity for longer run. So as Sarath mentioned, that even they are new to the system or they well known the system, there will always be something which we can focus on to improve or to document it. Either something is manual and we need to convert that to an automated test case, or something which is not covered as part of the regression pack and we want to add it. But at the same point of time, I think if you just talk about agile or sprint, it's always be better to have a pull from the tester side rather than a push from the developer side. So the tester always needs to pull the stories to their end so they can get it done. To get that ready, I think they need to spend more time in initial days to understand the system, to understand the not just the system but the product owner priorities. What makes sense to the product owner to get it better, what is more efficient from the full delivery perspective. So yeah, you can focus mainly on getting better understanding of the testers, or I'll not say tester, they are part of the development team, so they can contribute in n number of things. So don't just focus on those 3 days, because once you get into the cycle, you will automatically get something. You will automatically find that you have, after a sprint, you have to do a full regression test to make sure that every story which is individually working perfectly can work in the environment. So just don't worried about those 3 days or 5 days of initial sprint, because anyway any teams will take some time to adjust and to adopt and to become to that stage. Once they are, then I think they will get something in the cycle automatically. And everyone, as Trisha mentioned, everyone will have some work if they are self-organized, and they can come up with few ideas which will help the product or the organization in better way. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Srinath. I just want to add something here. So, am I audible to all?
Yes.
Okay, great. See, there will be never be onboarding of all resources. I mean, from developers, QA on the day one, there will be always a staggered staffing. Staggered in the sense there will be a gap between developers onboarding and the testing team onboarding. That is more important. Usual practice followed in the country. In our company, we follow at least minimum of 1.5 sprint to onboard the testers, or two sprints. So after 2 sprints only testers are onboarded. That is where we gain the productivity. Not that because we onboard the testers on day one as developers, we don't do that. We have a staggered staffing, and by the time the testing team gets onboarded, the development team would have done some kind of a programming or some kind of a design and architecture of the application. If it is already there with other vendors and getting lift and shift to our company or to the existing company, then we will try to put the testers and as well as the developers into sessions where the architecture of the application is understood. That is more important for everybody in the application development of the client or customer. So there is nothing like that. On day one, everybody is onboarded. Even sometimes without project manager also, we start the project. And that, having said that, even after onboarding, after 2 sprints, the testers, as somebody was saying, test data, and as well as each company will have their default set of test cases or test scripts, which can be leveraged or which can be used based on the application. See, for web type applications, web-based applications, we have some default test cases and test scripts. For database application, we have some set of test cases and test scripts. These are all the team lead or the senior guy in the testing team will identify and keep aside, saying that, okay, these test cases can be reused. So, and coming back to the in-flight, once the application starts development, and there is an in-flight of data coming in, or in-flight of requirements coming in, then also the testing team will always get up to the speed of developers by the time they have a sprint completed, and they say that a release is ready for testing. So there are these are all some kind of a project management related activities, but we should be aware, saying that they will not get onboarded on day one. Testing team will not get onboarded on day one. They get onboarded only after 14 or 15 days or 2 sprints, whatever the company decides. So having said that, so we should not feel that the productivity of these guys is going down. No company will onboard the testing team on day one. Maybe they identify the senior guys so that they can give some kind of a guidance to the juniors coming into the project. And also the tester or a senior tester will sit with the architect, and as well as application architect, and as well as a designer of the application, and decides how the different phases of testings have to be done. Yeah, thank you.
Sri, to my knowledge, I think whatever the process that you mentioned, somewhere, if I'm not wrong, it is somewhere getting related to the waterfall ways of working, right? Whereas from my side, there are different scenarios.
No, yeah, Sharath. Yeah, your voice is a bit bleak. I mean, can you just?
Yeah. How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Right. So somewhere, whatever the approach that you have told, just it looked to me like it's more like a waterfall ways of working, right? Or maybe strategical initiative where you are going to involve testers at a later point of time. But the other scenario is with whatever I told, in case of agile ways of working, or another strategy where we start involving testers right from day one when we are about
one or
to
two.
finalize
That is
our
what
requirements. Yeah,
correct.
when we about
1 or 2 will be there in the beginning, but not a total testing team. That too, whoever we onboard on day 1 or day 2, it will be a senior QA guy, but not a junior QA guy, because he will talk to the architect and as well as the designer to decide what would be the different phases of testing he can propose and how it helps in meeting the requirements of testing.
Yeah, I just want to call out there are 2 approaches. Others, please go ahead. Yeah, a lot of people joined. Please go.
What you're working on is on, like, it looked to me a context of wherein you're working on waterfall model, as Satish explained. It's not an agile model, or it could be wherein there's a lot of hierarchy and it's a very big company wherein people are like going into the hierarchical process, and it depends on different contexts. That's what I understood it, but Satish can give his opinion. But there is no correct process, there is no wrong process. Everything is working on the context. That's what I can say.
Right, I agree. Yes, we follow, of course, agile only, but definitely we have staggered staffing. We have staggered staffing, and we never, I mean, at least whatever the projects I worked, they never do onboarding of testers on day 1. There is always a staggered. I mean, there is a gap.
Okay, so it's a different context, I would say. Like it's a different approach.
Yeah, as you said, nothing is wrong, nothing is correct. Every approach is correct approach.
Yeah, whatever works for that particular team. But like, I'm sorry to interrupt, Sharath, if you have anything.
Sorry, my system is being weird. Yeah, I think we are good. Anyone else want to share any different opinion, or shall we go to the next question from anyone?
Hi, hi. Good evening to all. Good morning. Good evening.
Good evening. Please go ahead.
This is RSK. Thanks for hosting this wonderful evening. As I'm in Hyderabad, India, I'm enjoying this good discussion. In my opinion, as considering myself an agile ambassador and agile coach, I don't differentiate between tester, developer, or anything actually. So my main aim and culture to bring into the team is like everybody is equal, everybody is capable of handling many things. That's how I need to build my team. That's the reason my role is there. So if I start distinguishing between tester will come later, developer will start, I may not justify even to, as an agile ambassador role as an agile coach. So maybe initially those are things like in happening in the hybrid model. So when I take care or I start mentoring, coaching or training the team, so my aim would be to make sure that from the beginning of the discussion of the requirements, the team, irrespective of tester or developer, it's a team. So there is no specific role as such a tester would come and join the team. So I prepare to build a team capable of doing testing and development from day one. I understand there is a practical issues. As my experience, I took a zero sprint where a time is given to people who are more focused on testers. They are not just testers. They do development, but they are more into testing, and then they do partial development when is required. So in that way, they take a zero sprint and they do the right test cases and all that stuff, provided this understanding is the product owner and all the important stakeholders. If they understand everything, zero sprint is okay. Then together as a team, without lagging the time, agreeing on the definition of done, testing development is part of a the definition of done. So any agreement, a product owner says that yes, this is done, I am agreed to this product as the output. It is part of the testing, development, documentation, everything. As we all knew, initially our definition of done will be thinner, lighter, as team needs some time to settle down. Once the team settles down and they are good enough, then my definition of done includes everything. Like end of the product, whatever the customer expects or the end user expects, everything will be part of my definition of done. At least maybe fifth or sixth sprint. From that time onwards, the tester, developer, everybody will be the same role, and they don't differentiate anything. And it's not like that. Okay, I have done one good word I have heard. Tester will pull. Tester need to pull it. It looks good actually. There is nothing like tester need to pull. I'm talking about from agile perspective. The tester, developer in our daily Scrum call, if you are doing in Scrum, they discuss and understand that what need to be done on that day particular testing. A developer, once it is done, maybe he take a tester role and he will complete it. And we all, as an agile family, we can speak on continuously on this actually. So the idea is, as an agile ambassador, I always prefer to build a team irrespective of no role. I don't want to designate they are a tester, they are a developer. My team would be capable of doing everything, even an architect. That's how I would prefer to build, and I'm doing it actually. Thanks for giving the time.
So RSK, here, if I'm not wrong, you are focusing more on the cross-functional teams as well as T-shaped skills, right? Which will help call it as a team, as a single team, and even though there are testers or there are no testers, the other person, whoever is a developer, can be able or capable of doing those testing or taking those initiatives and take things forward right from day zero. And I really like your proactive approach of taking the sprint zero, where we can set the context, set our environment, set our ask if we are dependent on other team, which I think Trisha already covered in terms of data dependencies or in terms of other dependencies. Because at times, with the legacy system, they give challenges in terms of providing even mock data for us, right? So that is how we need to ensure the ground is well set before we jump into the sprint one. So yeah.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of practical issues. No, that's what I'm coming from, most perspective from the agile coach and an agile ambassador perspective, where my role would be to implement more agile what it speaks.
I agree.
Yeah, only 1 point. Sorry to interrupt. So,
Mm,
I mean,
yeah.
we are looking here all from technical perspective and delivery perspective, but I don't know. But I'm just commenting here. Correct me if I'm wrong. Are we looking at from the cost perspective of the resources?
I
Well,
agree
there
with
is
you.
nothing like cost actually, because we are talking from the like process perspective. Because there is no resource will come later. There's nothing like that come later. Because every sprint will have an output where product owner has to review the product output and need to agree that it is done. Because it's a definition of done. So and also I mentioned that initially in 2-3 sprints you may not give 100% definition of done as per the end user requirement. But having said that, once the team is settled down, I always need to focus that definition of done meets the end user requirement. So that means product owner can release any output of particular sprint into the market whenever he wants. It's his choice, not the development team choice. Development team will build that product and shows the review to the product owner where he agrees as per the initial sprint discussion or sprint planning. That's it. And product owner's responsibility when he wants to take it.
Sorry to interrupt RSK, but I'm not talking about technical stuff you're talking. I'm not disputing that. Definitely whatever you said is very much correct. I'm talking whether we are looking at the things from the cost perspective in this discussion. If you are not, then I can drop my question. Otherwise, I would like to review the.
Even though you
Yeah.
look from the cost perspective and you are started involving them from the second sprint or the third sprint, that much of time you are going to lose, right? Again, you have to take sufficient time to onboard them, getting them to speed to start doing their testing. Then they have to build their test cases manual or automated from that point for the sprint 2 or sprint 3. So even though you are saving costs for sprint 1 and sprint 2, you are losing the time out there, right? I mean, share your experience. I'm fine. Whether you see that, advantage if you are really introducing the testing team in the latest sprints.
Sharath, we should not encourage all this, Sharath. When we are talking Scrum, then if you are using Scrum, we should be using it in complex environment. If we are using it in complex environment, then we should not be going for a fixed bid project. We should be talking about T&M. Now, when it comes to productivity, it is always that it is the lack of understanding of how to do things in Scrum, and the corporates, they keep on making this mistake. They feel that they know everything and they would just ignore what Scrum Guide talks about, what Agile talks about, and they'll try to fit in all those traditional concepts into this. So all these issues that we are talking about are coming because of lack of understanding of how Scrum works or where the Scrum needs to be applied. And once we put it, how we need to take it forward. Now, when it comes to the how do you say, one sprint 0 also, I don't agree that there should be a sprint 0, because what Scrum says is at every sprint there should be a potential shippable product. So what does sprint 0 gives as a increment, right? At sprint 0 there is no increment. So let's not call it sprint 0. Let us call anything what we want.
Let's try
but
to
not
understand.
sprint 0.
Sorry to cut you. Yeah. What your point? Let's try to understand the scenario, particular scenario, the practical world, right?
No, the practicality is what we allow, Sharath.
Hey, 1 minute.
Yeah.
Let me complete. I will create a practical scenario where you are planning for a brand new project that came your way, right? There is a challenge in getting onboarding of the resources. The environments are not ready, right? And with respect to setup, things are not ready. So whatever the prerequisites that you are thinking that are needed for you to start sprint 1 and ensure that sprint 1 has some requirements accepted and you develop those. So the pre-setup is not at all ready. What you do starting sprint 1?
So so let's not start sprinting. Let's do the enablement, right? There is nothing called.
They are doing sprint.
But there is not.
Scrum is not saying.
Sprint
Scrum
0,
Guide is not saying sprint 0. What I'm trying to convey is Scrum Guide is not saying sprint zero, but to enable all these things, people step back, one step back, they take up this sprint zero and try to assemble everything, ensure that things are in place, then they jump into sprint.
Okay,
Please
then
go
what
ahead.
is the value created for the customer in sprint zero?
We don't start creating value right from day one. We are in agreement with the product owner or whoever is the proxy for the customer. That hey,
Sharath, I want to answer actually.
right,
It's a good question actually. What value is provided? See, for example, a customer came up with some requirements or some whatever the need to be given, the timelines, right? So for that, there is an initial time period is required to build that outcome in a visible manner, where development take that, testing team that, and then deliver, right? And assuming that we are going into the a great sprint time, it's 2 weeks time. So the output of the zero sprint is to only to explain to the non-agile community where they don't understand anything. Then we explain that hey, this is what we are going to do. That there is no output, but what exactly the output is like? Still in a zero sprint, we will have a sprint planning. We will have the complete what is going to be our sprint goals. For example, the user stories, refined user stories of definition of done, definition of ready. All these things will be there. The outcome of that zero sprint. That means customer will see, okay, the team is working together and there is a acceptance criteria is coming. There is a proper user defined stories are coming. Everything is coming, whatever need to be done to start the sprint one. So the clear communication will be done because the user, when I say user, the product owner and maybe the user leads also will be part of the zero sprint because it's not doing any secretly. They're part of it. Sprint goal will be decided in the sprint planning meeting, and then it will be distributed to them. They understand that okay, this end of the sprint, because there is no actual output which is a working software, but which is
and how many sprint zero we would require for doing all this, RSK?
It depends. It depends how much
So
readiness
you
need.
will keep on calling sprint zero?
No.
So
See,
I
the
would
idea
say
is to get the
that
prepared readiness. It
can
depends how much do you need. It may be, for example, you once everything is clear, then you decide that my sprint is going to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
Then why
4
can't we
weeks.
start sprinting only when everything is clear?
No, again, that's what I'm saying. This sprint to zero is a naming convention given and to explain the people who are not from Agile. They don't know what is coming out. So to bring them into the platform and also make them more comfortable from the sprint which are coming in future, and also share the ownership to them as well, and involve them as well in all the decision
I
making.
think let's agree to disagree. I'll definitely keep on disagreeing. But yeah, thanks for the discussion, RSK.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Yes, we're all here to discuss, you know.
Yes, of course.
I think Trisha is trying to make it point.
I was saying, and some of the teams, what I've seen is like when they start a new year, let's say we are in January, they'll make it as a sprint zero. So it depends on the context. And some team, they will have a very clear vision. Let's say I was working on wherein the team wanted one static page to demo it to the customer with some sort of API call. That way, their vision was very clear in that perspective. And in that particular context, the sprint zero, they can actually have certain outcome and they just needed 2-3 sprint to deliver that. So it depends on the context, I would say. If it is a very complex product, then the sprint zero would be like setting a process or having collaboration or having that thought process. But if it's a context wherein it's just switching a year or it's actually a very small project and things are very clear, then sprint zero doesn't make sense. So it depends on all those contexts.
Right. I think we covered
for me it will never make sense, but yeah, I take your point.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we all are working in different project, different contexts.
Yeah.
Right.
There is no right. That's why I say there is no right. There's nothing right. It depends on what people are trying to do.
What works for you. Yeah.
That's what is the most important thing, and there will be never right thing.
One thing what we always need to consider is like, what exactly is my role? Am I doing a project manager role, or as I'm an agile coach? If I'm an agile coach, I'm an ambassador, then I need to make sure that whatever the agile says, I need to follow it and implement it and make sure that all my stakeholders are comfortable with that. I need to guide them, train them, motivate them, mentor them. So my it's not just like that, okay, you do, I do, I only come and tell and go. No, it's not my role. I need to make sure that the team understands, accepts it, and build the confidence and move towards agile. I'm not here to get slowly the people one by one, that hybrid model. And no, I don't care all these things. My role is an agile. I'm very clear about my role. I'm an agile ambassador. There is agile, clearly rules are there, fundamentals, values, all are very clear. So I build my every statement and my step on that action on that only.
Yeah, it's
A
not
project
rules, it's
manager may not
values
like
and
it.
principles.
Yeah, a project manager may not like it, a customer may not like it, but that's a different story. Initially, when we start a project, we say that, hey, I'm going to execute this project in agile. And these are the agile principles. These are the agile values. So my whole action, my whole implementation based upon these things. That is what initially as an agile coach, I will do a lot of trainings, coaching and mentoring to all the stakeholders, not just the team, but the external executives on the customer side, even my management from whom I am representing that organization, that people also come into the picture. Because there shall not be any confusion in the latter stages. So everybody will be part of initial agile coaching, so that make sure that what we are going to do in future, how we are building the product. Once we all agree, because that's what in my quote I have given, we are going to implement in agile. So that is accepted by customer. Once it is accepted, then as an agile coach, I need to make sure that the principles and values are taken care in all my implementation.
Yeah, I think, RSK, I think, yeah, we have made enough points. Anyone has any other question? Thanks, RSK, for your insights.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Any other questions, anyone? Well, it seems everybody is silent. All right.
I think this is the first one, right, Sharad? So the reason people are silent. Maybe in upcoming sessions, so that we are all familiar who is talking, who is thinking in which way, then a lot of people will come. I think that's not an issue at all.
Yeah, actually, I was expecting a lot of questions with the kind of topic Trisha has chosen. But anyways, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, Trisha, for such a wonderful session given to us today. And I wish you all a very happy good night. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
all.
Have a great day.
Good night.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sarah, for giving me this opportunity to
Thank you,
talk.
everyone. Good.
Thank you, Trisha.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Trisha.